Just to let you know, this episode discusses issues surrounding assisted dying. On Filmability, my name's Joel Fisher and I'm the author of Filmability, A History of Disability in Cinema that you can find on Amazon in Kindle paperback. I hope you're feeling loved this week, or having somebody else who you love, because it's Valentine's week. I'd also love it if you were able to follow the podcast so that I could feel all the love that I'm getting from you. If this is your first time listening, then welcome. If this isn't your first time, welcome back, and thanks for joining me again. This week, as it's Valentine's week, I thought I'd cover a romantic film, because nothing says I love you like I want to end my life. That's right, this week I'm going to be talking about Me Before You, the 2016 adaptation of Jojo Moyes' novel of the same name, directed by Thea Sharrock in her directorial debut, who has since directed films such as Wicked Little Letters with Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley, and The Beautiful Game with Bill Nighy and Michael Ward. Jojo Moyes also wrote the screenplay for Me Before You as well. As usual, I'm going to go through the entire plot of Me Before You, so if you haven't seen it yet and don't want to be spoiled, then I suggest you watch it now before continuing. You can find it on Netflix in the UK at time of recording, and you can buy or rent it elsewhere. So without further ado, let's get on with the film. Okay, so the film starts out with a couple in bed. They're in a bed with white sheets and there's white walls. It looks like a very luxurious apartment. The man in the bed is Will Traynor, played by Sam Claflin. He gets out of bed and gets a shower, and he goes outside and it's raining, despite what his girlfriend said. And his girlfriend is Alicia, and she's played by Vanessa Kirby. Cut to a castle in an idyllic English village. A woman is working at a bakery and she's talking to a couple of old ladies. This woman's name is Lou Clark, and she's played by Amelia Clark. That's Lou Clark without an E, and Amelia Clark with an E. She goes to serve tea to another old woman and gets her cake wrapped up for her. As she closes the shop, a man hands her her notice. She's been let go and he apologises for it. At home, her father, Bernard, played by Brendan Coyle, complains and he says that she was overlooked, saying that he's worried about her getting a job. Later, she's at an athletics track and she's talking to her boyfriend, Patrick, played by Matthew Lewis, and he encourages her to find new opportunities and keep going because he's highly motivated by everything that he does, and it's mainly fitness. At the job centre, a man behind the desk lists a load of jobs that Lou wasn't suited for, and she keeps making excuses for things that didn't work out for her. He then tells her about a disabled man that needs a carer, and that he thinks that the job will be perfect for her. I'm not sure how exactly, but never mind. At home, Lou's mum, Josie, played by Samantha Spiro, has Lou dressed up in a professional outfit, and Lou gets on the bus. It's a sort of old-fashioned looking outfit. She's got a black and white top on and a very, very short and tight skirt. She's met by Camilla Traynor, played by Janet McTeer, and they sit down and Lou is questioned, and she admits she has no experience caring for a disabled person, and she's generally not making a good impression of herself, and particularly when her skirt starts to split. She says she can make a decent cup of tea though, and says nothing can be solved by a decent cup of tea. She then admits that she's nervous, and shortly afterwards, Will's father comes in, and he's played by Charles Dance. He comes in and introduces himself to Lou, and kisses his wife on the forehead as he leaves. And at this point, it seems that Lou gets the job. Maybe her husband approved, or there's some other reason. It's not entirely clear. Anyway, Camilla takes Lou into the house and shows her around. She says she wants to be a friend to Will and not just a carer. She goes into Will's room and he starts making noises like a person with non-verbal cerebral palsy, which is the same joke that was made in The Fundamentals of Caring, which you can listen to in a previous episode. Then he speaks as he normally would, and they get up to sort of awkward conversation. He comments on her outfit, and she offers to make a cup of tea, because it's the only thing she can do. Back home, Lou tells her family that she's got the job, and her sister, Trina, played by Jenna Coleman, congratulates her. At work, Will's physiotherapist, Nathan, played by Stephen Peacock, tells her all about Will's care, including the many different types of medication that he needs. He also implies that Will is a very irritable person, and he says that she doesn't need to worry about all the medication side, and she just needs to be there to help cheer Will up. And this is the point where I should probably talk about the reality of what medication is actually included, because in the film it really doesn't go into too much depth. As with a lot of disabilities, the way that a person is affected by paralysis can vary from person to person. Various medications are taken as mentioned in the film. However, to put into perspective, people generally end up taking more medications as they get older to maintain their health. After the incident, a quadriplegic person would have to take medication to maintain their health for things such as pain management, muscle stiffness and spasms, which means a tightening of the muscles and not just weakness, which is often portrayed in cinema and literature. Also bladder and bowel management, and blood pressure medication, which is taken because after paralysis it can often affect the systems in the body which you would otherwise deal with automatically, such as blood flow. Also blood clot prevention would be given, but early on, as soon as possible after the accident, to prevent deep vein thrombosis. However, the one thing that isn't mentioned is medication with depression and anxiety. It seems that Will is going through this stage in his life, but nothing seems to be done about it. In reality, Will be given medication to deal with mental health issues, as well as being assigned a therapist. Nobody goes through such a life-changing moment like paralysis alone, and help is out there to improve mental well-being. Anyway, back to the movie. Lou goes to talk to Will and suggests that some things they could do, which he then blankly refuses, and she just ends up suggesting that they get to know each other. He says that he's been told that she's a chatty person and that he doesn't want her to be like that around him. He's pushing her away, he's being a dick, basically. She then goes off into the kitchen and starts reading. It very much feels like she's in a job that she doesn't know how to do, and nothing else she can do, so she's just watching the clock, passing the time until she can go home. A montage follows with her turning up on various days in various different outfits and trying to suggest new things that they can do together. She then looks at a picture of Will before the accident, and Will comes in and says that she must feel sorry for him because of all the active things he was doing before he had the accident. At home, Lou's talking to Trina and she says that she thinks she might go to college. Lou says that she doesn't want her to go because she'll miss her, but Trina pleads that she says that she can't stay at home much longer. Back at home, Camilla tells Lou that Will has visitors, and then they cut to Alicia, who is Will's ex-girlfriend, and a man called Rupert, played by Ben Lloyd Hughes. And they're being awkward around Will, they're trying to connect in a way, but it doesn't feel like they're being relaxed around him, and it's because of the accident and the way that things have worked out for him. And it turns out that they've got together. Rupert is Will's best friend, and, well, Alicia's his ex, so it's not the best situation to be in, really. Will gets annoyed, obviously, and as they both leave, Rupert says that he hopes things will get better for Will. The implication being, he's paralysed from the neck down, and that physically it won't get any better for him. Will leaves the room and Lou comes in, and Alicia says to Lou that Will pushed them away. Like everything they've done is his fault. It's very strange. And both of them leave, and Lou goes back into the house and is surprised by Will having had smashed some photos on the floor. How he was able to do that, I'm not sure. Maybe he moved his wheelchair quickly into the thing, but he did what he wanted to do, and the impact of that is pretty much metaphorical. It's the pictures of his former life and his girlfriend. Later on, in a pub garden, Lou is with Patrick, and she says that how it's so awful that Will was dumped and that his best friend got together with his ex. Patrick suggests that they go away, and he wants to go to Norway on holiday, and it sounds like an adventure thing and a fitness thing, and Lou's just not that interested at all. Back at work, Lou is trying to fix the photo frames that Will smashed on the floor. Will tells her that he doesn't want her to fix them, and then she just snaps, has a go at him, and just basically tells him off for being a dick. She says that she's only doing the job because she needs the money, and she leaves Will to stare out of the window. However, she soon comes back and she suggests they watch a DVD. So they're looking through Will's collection of DVDs, and she notices a few foreign ones, and says she doesn't like subtitled movies, and Will sort of looks down on that. So Will suggests they start watching a French movie, and this is Of Gods and Men from 2010, and according to IMDb, it's about a group of Trappist monks stationed in Algerian community who must decide whether to stay or go after being under threat from fundamental terrorists. And I think, although I haven't seen the film myself, I would say as a first impression film, it may be a good one, but also it doesn't really set mood. It's not exactly a romantic film to watch, but first impressions count, maybe, and maybe this worked. Because it turns out that Lou loved the film, and she was really taken by it, really overwhelmed, and it seems like it's changed her perspective. Then later on, out in the garden, the rain which was going on had stopped, and Lou and Will continued talking about movies, and Will admits that not all his tastes are as highbrow as they appear to be. Lou says that she likes clothes and that she doesn't really do much else, and Will says that her interests are duller than his, but it seems that they're bonding, and Will's mum sees them outside and sort of hopes that something better will come from their relationship. And then later on at hospital, Lou is talking to Nathan as they wait outside while Will's having a consultation, and she's asking why Will is going in there in the first place. I wonder if it's to see if there's anything they can do to improve his condition or make him walk again. It's sort of implied that she thinks that despite the fact that Will is paralysed with the neck down, that it might only be temporary. And Nathan talks about things such as blood pressure, and there's nothing they can do to fix him. It's not going to get better. There's nothing to improve it. It's just the way that Will is now. And this is something I should talk about, because this is a common misconception among some non-disabled people, and it can often lead to a level of distrust. When somebody sees a wheelchair user, for example, and perhaps that wheelchair user stands up for whatever reason, then a non-disabled person may think that they're faking it. Although we should really know by now that although somebody may use a wheelchair, it doesn't mean that they need it all the time, and that their movement may vary. In 2016, though, the government in the UK decided to send out people to reassess those who were already claiming disability living allowance in order to decide whether they were suitable candidates for personal independent payment, which was replacing it. To many, including myself though, this felt like a slap in the face, forcing many disabled people to justify their existence yet again in a society where it felt like they had to constantly fight for equality. This led to disabled people being seen as scapegoats for the economic crisis, where the government villainised them in order to wave away the deeper issues that they weren't dealing with. It's only to enforce the idea that disabled people are faking it and just taking money from the government that provides for them. At the time, the narrative was to ensure that there weren't any people who were fraudulently claiming benefits, but the damage was done where people who were still eligible had those benefits taken away from them, making many people believe that it was the only option but to end their lives. Many disabled people can even be reassessed on a regular basis to monitor their development of disability, but when people such as amputees or little people are on that list, it can feel unnecessary and excessive. Anyway, back to the movie. And then later on, we cut to a cinema where Patrick and Lou are going to see something, and Lou suggests they go and see a foreign film, but Patrick sort of laughs at her. He's sort of stuck in his ways, and they end up going to see a Will Ferrell movie instead. I don't know how Will Ferrell feels about that sort of dig, but okay. Back at work, Will's dad says that Will isn't feeling well, and Lou goes in to see him, and she helps him to sit up better in bed. Will closes his eyes, and Lou goes over, and she's worried that he's not only ill, but he might be dead. He looks weak, and he's breathing slowly, and she's worried, so she calls Nathan, leaves him a message, and eventually Nathan gets back, and Lou tells him what's happened, and he rushes in and explains how Will sweats differently and needs to cool down, so he gets a fan and he tells her that Will's going to be okay. Lou then finds Will's laptop and finds a video that a friend made for him of his active lifestyle for his birthday. Will wakes up and asks her what she's watching. He asks her what time it is as well. She brings a big glass of water and helps him to drink with a straw, and then she just asks the big question. She asks Will what happened and how he has been paralysed, because she's seen what he's done before and it's a major change for him, obviously. And then they get to talking about other things. They talk about childhood, and that in her own childhood there was a song that she used to like singing, and he encourages her to sing it because he's never heard of it, and she does. So it's a silly little song. It just sort of helps the scene go along, and that they're bonding more. And she even talks about how she was a child and she had these tights that she used to wear that they were sort of bubbly colours, sort of black and yellow, and she really loved them. And then Will goes back to sleep while Lou stays with him while she's reading. Outside, they continue their banter, they're getting to know each other, they're really getting closer, and as usual, Will makes fun of Lou's outfit, and particularly her shoes. And he starts to ask her about where she used to work, and she says that she wanted to go to uni, but she didn't. And he says that she should broaden her horizons, but she changes the subject because up until this point, Will has had a beard, and although it's Sam Claflin, he's an attractive looking man, she thinks that he'd look better clean shaven. And so he agrees that he's going to let her shave his face, and that's what's the next scene. And she's being very careful, and along with other films like this, romantic films, I think the act of shaving is very intimate and very personal thing to do. So it shows how close and comfortable they're getting, and it's a sort of moving towards the romantic. Then later on, as she goes out the bathroom, Lou overhears Will's parents arguing, and she hears that his mother says that he can't believe that Will's dad is allowing Will to end his life. This is a tonal shift in the movie, but he tells Will's mum that Will is unwell and he won't get any better, and Lou can't help that either, and he refers to her as being a pretty waitress. It's sort of like he's resigned to the idea that Will's never going to get any better, so might as well enjoy his time before he dies anyway. Lou's talking to Trina, and she says that she should make the time that they have left special, because it's what he wants. Lou then goes to the library, and she's researching things that they can do together, and she's looking at disability sports. And then later on, Will's parents are talking with her about the things that Lou suggested. And this brings up another issue that the film does not address. Will's family are seemingly rich, so it would be reasonable to assume that they would have all the money to buy assistive tech for Will to use around the home. He's shown to be able to do things like listen to music, but it isn't clear if he had a device like an Alexa, although he may have done considering the device was first released in 2014. Besides that, there are other devices such as eye tracking and head control interfaces that Will could use, as well as other voice controlled devices which are becoming more common every single day. Will's grief is for the loss of the control over his body, but he doesn't even consider what he could be doing with his mind. He could take a number of courses, both online and even at university, and not everybody is Stephen Hawking, but he could actually do anything he wanted if he put his mind to it. He could be a software engineer, a cybersecurity analyst, and even a writer. To be honest, his situation with his accident and his family is unique, and he could certainly take advantage of that. Even with the way that he encourages Lou to do something daring with her life, he could be a motivational speaker, showing people what they're really capable of doing. Then we go to Will, and Lou is in another eccentric outfit, and this time they're going to go to the races. They're going to horse racing. And at the races, they get Will's chair out of the car, but it gets stuck in the mud, which is a common thing for a wheelchair user, you know. I mean, I'm not going to go to Glastonbury anytime soon. I don't fancy it. There's a lot of mud. It's not a suitable place for me, and I know that that's not where I want to go. But then Lou gets a group of men to help to push Will's chair out of the mud. And as they get to the race course, she says she's going to place a bet on a horse, but Will doesn't really think it has much of a chance, and they sort of have back and forth that he doesn't really know much about horse racing, but she's just blindly going into it and hoping for the best. And then she watches the race through the binoculars, and as the horses set off, there was one that's left. He's doing a few steps. He's not really going very fast, and that's the horse that Lou bet on. At a restaurant, a woman is being patronising to Lou and denying them entry. And this is a cameo from Diane Morgan, who is better known as Philomena Kunk to a wider audience. Basically, her role is playing patronising and ableist, and then Lou tells her where she can stick it, basically. Is it, again, a common thing? People being patronising and condescending, but without saying it's because of the wheelchair, but you know where it's going. Back home, Will's listening to loud music, which Lou turns off. It seems like he's put it on because he wants to shut his mind off and not think about how he was treated there and how it was not the best place to be. But then, after Lou apologises, she suggests that they go to a concert. And at home, Lou is talking to Trina over webcam, and she's showing her a dress that she was thinking of wearing for the concert. But Trina suggests a red dress and teases that Lou's going on a date with Will, so she has to try and impress him. Lou arrives at work, and Will is impressed by what she's wearing. And as they go to the concert, Will says he's feeling a bit uncomfortable to start off with. Lou helps him out, and you know, these little things that happen while you're out and about, but people are staring at Will's wheelchair and the situation. It's like they've never seen a disabled person before. Next day, Lou says that Patrick wants to meet Will, and she invites him even to her birthday dinner with her family at home, and he said he'd like to go. So Then we cut to the family. Lou's mother leads a prayer, and Lou has her eyes wide open and she's grinning. It's like, then they make awkward little conversation and the doorbell rings and Patrick arrives a bit late, but he proudly announces that he's got his personal best and got there in record time. It's still going with the athletics and stuff like that. Then Lou's mum and dad talk about how bright Lou is and how wonderful she is, and Patrick suggests a few things that Will could do to train his muscles to get better, but basically he doesn't think that Will is good enough as he is as a disabled person, so he's trying to put him into his world, basically. And they also suggest that he can fix Will, and he can't. And Lou tells him off because she gets what Will is going through, and it's accepting him for who he is. And they start giving Lou presents in the living room, and she gets a photo book from her granddad, which she's really happy about. And Patrick presents her with a small jewellery box, which you think might be a ring or something like that. And she opens it, and it's a little pendant with his name on it, and it looks cheap and tacky and not very thoughtful. And then Will says he got her a present himself, and as she opens the box, it turns out to be a pair of black and yellow striped bumblebee tights. And Lou is really excited by this. She's really overwhelmed by a very thoughtful gift, and it basically shows that Will is thinking about Lou more than Patrick ever did. And as Will is heading out and to go home, he thanks Patrick for the fitness advice and thinks that Lou is doing a really good job, and particularly enjoys the bed baths that she gives him. He's basically putting Patrick in his place. I mean, Patrick isn't the worst person, but he's not suitable for Lou, and that's what the film wants to put across. Will and Lou then are going out again, and they're in a touristy place, an old castle somewhere, and Will makes his way up a sort of treacherous looking path outside of a castle, and Lou is following afterwards, making sure that he doesn't steer himself in the wrong direction. And then they get to the top, and Will talks about how his life has changed and he wishes he could go back to the way it was, and he talks about how frustrating the struggles of his condition are, and this is basically enforcing to the audience that Will wants to die and that there's no other option, and they have to get on board with the idea that Will has no other option in his life and he'd be better off dead. And this seems to be a good opportunity to talk about life after disability, because after a quadriplegic person is able to come home from the hospital, things are going to change. There's home assessment to ensure that the home is accessible for an electric-powered wheelchair. Equipment is arranged to help around the home, such as a pressure-relieving mattress, a hoist, a shower chair, ramps, grab rails, a commode, and even a hospital bed. It can take a lot out of a person emotionally because they are at home, but their way of life has changed. Things can take longer to do. The loss of independence could be overwhelming, and not to mention the emotional and physical fatigue of everything, and having to mentally deal with everything which can lead to grief, anxiety, and even anger. However, help is there, as family and friends can be trained by medical professionals to help out and make life a little better. A routine can then slowly be made over time, and if the disabled person can get through it mentally, then anything's possible. It doesn't stop there though, as visits from a physiotherapist can help a person's body, and visits from an occupational therapist can help work out a better routine to help around the home for both the disabled person and the carer. Counselling is also available, helping the person to deal with the loss of the life they had before, and getting them to adjust and accept their new identity as a disabled person. There may even be opportunities for group therapy. What I'm saying is, it all takes time, and over a few months or maybe years, the adjustments can feel like second nature. people can reconnect with old friends or make new ones, and sometimes even get back into the jobs they were doing before. Although it's not entirely clear what Will did for a living in the first place, and with a rich family and his focus so much on his active lifestyle, could he be a Nepo baby? Lou then goes back home and finds that her mum's dressed up, and her dad says that he got a job and it's at the castle where they were before, and very much it's implied that Will got her dad a job at the castle, and she calls Will to confirm it, and she was a bit uneasy about having this charity, this position that was given by Will, but he still thinks that her dad will be really good at what he's been given to do. And then later on, Lou is back at Will's place, and she answers the door, and a man in a suit appears at the door. Will invites him in and tells Lou to leave them alone, and Lou's worried because she knows that this is a lawyer and this is the man who's going to help Will to tidy up the unfinished business before he dies. And then we go to a wedding, and Will's talking to an old friend, and he introduces Lou to the old friend, and as the man goes off, Will suggests that he fancies Lou, but she puts herself down and she doesn't think she's much, but Will says that she looks beautiful. Then Lou is sitting down with a relative, and it's another cameo. It's Joanna Lumley this time, and she's saying how much she likes Will, and she's great, and he's somebody that could really do something with his life, but she also doesn't think that the wedding couple are going to last that much longer. It's a little cameo. It's not much, but it gets Lou thinking that Will is a really good man. And then Alicia comes over to see Will and thanks him for coming, and he's being very gracious, and it's a bit patronising, and although she's not lording it over him, he does feel a bit like maybe he shouldn't have come. But then Lou suggests that they go on the dance floor, and she gets on Will's lap, and they talk and laugh as the music plays, and Will's chair is moving around. It's a sort of sweet moment. It's the moment that's on the poster, basically. And then at the end of the day, it's sort of night time, and you can still see Lou on Will's lap in a sort of wider shot, and he's taking her along a path, but he's doing it very fast. And I'm sorry, it's just a little thing that I noticed, but he's going really fast, and I know it's sort of supposed to emphasise the good time that they've been having, but an electric powered wheelchair has a top speed of like 4 to 6 to 8 miles per hour, and it wouldn't be doing that, so don't expect any wheelchairs like that to be going anywhere fast. And they go back home, and Will's mum complains that she was worried about where they were. And then they go inside. Will sees Nathan, and they talk about the night. It sort of implies that Will is liking Lou, and Lou is liking Will, and they're getting closer, and they're quite enjoying their time together. And then the next day, Lou is with Patrick, and he's jogging ahead of her as she's riding a bike behind him. It's this sort of rocky-looking kind of scene. It's his mindset. He thinks he's Rocky. He thinks he's training and doing the best and doing everything. But apart from his pastime, athletics and fitness and things like that, there isn't really anything that Patrick is working towards. So it's a bit two-dimensional, but it just emphasises that Patrick's focus is on his physicality, while Will, his life isn't. Lou also says that she hates doing what they do, and it seems that they do this on a regular basis, and she also brings up that she wants to go on holiday with Will. He wants to go away for a few days, and Patrick then suggests they get somebody else to do it because it's just a job, it's just, you can get a qualified nurse to go, and then he starts having a go at her about the holiday they were supposed to go on. It's not going well between Lou and Patrick, really. It's almost as if she'd be better off with somebody else. So they stay there, and she sleeps overnight, and in the morning she goes in and sees Will's mother, and she brings her a cup of tea, and Will wakes up, and she asks him how he's feeling. Back at work, Lou talks to Nathan, and he talks about how Will dreams of his active life before the accident, and that he can't do anything to make him feel better, and he's resigning himself to the fact that Will wants to die, and that's all he wants to do, so there's nothing else that can happen. Lou suggests that she arranges a bigger holiday and asks Nathan to come with them so that he'll be looked after and they can also have a proper break and it'll be better for them. Then at home, Patrick's arranged a dinner for Lou, but he can't have himself by telling her how healthy he is. And then he finds the details of the holiday that Lou has planned, and he gets angry because he starts talking about the trip that they were planning together, but that she'd rather go off with Will than she would with him. And it's no good, he can't be consoled, and he leaves the house looking sad. Then at the airport, Will and Lou and Nathan are in a private plane. And this is a point where I thought I'd talk about something in the name of variety, really, because I know although it's a thing where you start a scene as late as possible and finish a scene as early as possible, but there is no way that Will really could have got on the plane as easily as it's suggested in the film. Firstly, the wheelchair user would go to the check-in and they would ask the staff about the things that they would need and things would get sorted out in that way. Manual wheelchairs are kept until they get to the aircraft door in most cases, and electric-powered wheelchairs like Will's are checked in earlier and loaded into the hold of the airplane, where unfortunately it's more likely that it's going to get damaged. Airport wheelchairs are provided for in the case of a wheelchair needing to be checked in early, but once they get in the aisle seat, then their only destination is the seat of the plane. The plus side is that the wheelchair users can board first. Another way to get on the plane, though, if the plane is not level with the terminal, is that they are transferred to a high-lift vehicle and then lifted to the airplane door and transferred to an aisle seat and their passenger seat after as before. Meanwhile, the wheelchair will be taken elsewhere, either in the hold or somewhere where it can be collected after the plane has landed. However, this doesn't guarantee that a wheelchair will be handled carefully, and there are stories of wheelchairs being broken by careless staff, lost, and sometimes the wheelchair user even being forgotten. Whilst in flight, there is no accessible toilets on an airplane, and the staff can't lift passengers for safety reasons, and the wheelchair user is always the first on, but always the last off. So if you're going to go on an airplane and you're a wheelchair user, you should expect on the other side about an hour added on to the time, so when you do get off the plane, you can then continue life. Later on, Lou is on the beach, and Will is laying in bed, and he wakes up and he says he's feeling better. And then they're seen at a poolside resort, and they're laying on lounges, and then they're on the beach again, laying on lounges, and then later on at night, Nathan says he's met someone and wants to go back to her place, and they tease him a bit. They fun because of it, they know what's going on there. And then at night, Will's in bed and Lou goes to his side and he says he wants her to stay with him. And now they finally kiss, and there's a storm outside and it gets louder and the lights go off and they continue kissing. The next day, Lou's in a wetsuit and Will's encouraging her to go scuba diving, and she's a bit nervous, but then we cut to a boat with Nathan and Will on the boat, and he's shouting to Lou, and she loves what she was doing, and she said it's amazing, and she's really encouraged by all these things that she's doing. And then later at night, Lou and Will are talking, and she sort of dances awkwardly, sort of cut the tension a little bit, and she sits in his lap and kisses him again, and he says he wants to tell her about what he wants to do, and she says that she already knows about his plan to die, but she says that she can make him happy, and he tells her that he couldn't bear not being able to do things that a normal couple could do, and that he can't even touch her, and he really wants to touch her. She starts crying, and Will tells her that he knows it won't get any better, and he is going to Switzerland, and she said that she thought that she was changing his mind, and says that she wishes she'd never got the job and she'd never met him. She's angry, she's upset, and she storms out. It's a bad moment for both of them. Back at the airport terminal, Lou is still feeling upset, and they'll get back on the plane, and Will's asleep, and when they get back, Lou says that she wants to go home. Will's parents try and encourage her to stay, but she leaves on a bus, and she's just still really distressed. She goes back home, and Trina asks her if she changed his mind, and she says no. Lou tells the family, and Lou's mum gets angry. She says it's not right, it's got to be something else they can do, but then Trina tells her to calm down and says that it's his choice, again reinforcing the idea for the audience that once you've been in an accident and you're disabled, there's no other choice but to die. Lou is crying in the room, and her dad comes in and says that he can't change who people are, and that she has a big heart, and she says she may have made a big mistake by leaving. The amount of people who are just going, yeah, well, Will is disabled, so, he's going to have to end his life anyway. It's pretty shocking in this film, but anyway. Then we cut to Trina driving Lou, and she's going back to Will's place, and Lou goes back into the house and comes into Will's bedroom where he's with his parents. They leave, and she lays by Will's side and hugs him, and he starts to sing the silly song that she sung when she was a child, and he leans forward to kiss her. He then says he wants to call his parents, and it seems that this is the moment where Willie's going to go off to Switzerland. And then we cut to an artistic shot. There's a leaf falling down from the sky. It's very Forrest Gump-esque kind of thing, and it's a different place entirely. There are people around there talking, and at a cafe, and Lou's reading a letter from Will, and it appears that she is now in France. He's inspired her to do what she always wanted to do, and in the letter he says that he left her enough money to start a new life, and he also encourages her to live her life, and it's basically because he can't live his own life because he's dead now. Okay, so that was the film, and up next I'll be talking about my wider opinions on the film overall and the portrayal of disability and what it may mean for the non-disabled audience. Me Before You is a rom-com that takes the topic of euthanasia and skims over it as lightly and as carefree as the romance is portrayed. The decision on whether Will should end his own life is one-sided and not well thought out, and the story suffers for it. Most of the side characters think that it's Will's choice and that he has no other option but to end his life, and for the audience that is something that they had to get on board with. The only people who protest Will's decision are the mothers, with Will's mother coming around to the idea and Lou's mother being incensed about it, only to be passively pushed aside as if her opinion was wrong. If Me Before You had a plotline that showed all the options that Will had laid out in front of him and then chose to die, it could perhaps be more palatable. However, Will is never given therapy, never given the option to find a more fulfilling life, and never even meets another quadriplegic person who may help to change his mind. This sends the message to the audience that haven't thought it through that Will's option to die is the only one, and can perhaps make them more likely to side with people in real life who want to do the same. Happy Valentine's Day. And that's it for this week. Next week I'll be talking about The Best of Men, the 2012 BBC made movie about the founding of the Paralympic Games. If you'd like to contact me, you can do so via Bluesky at bluesky.com/film-ability. You can also email me at film-ability@outlook.com. And if you'd like to make a contribution to the things that I do here, you can find me at Patreon at patreon.com/film-ability. You can also find my book at Amazon on Kindle and paperback called Film Ability, A History of Disability in Cinema. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.